Yeah.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are Lake Hawk Rundown. I am joined with Neil Stanley and these two little creatures here. Who you got with you, Neil?
This is Graham, a.k.a. G-Money Killa, and this is Crew, a.k.a. Boo Boo.
All right, so Neil is a firefighter. He's also our head beach volleyball coach, and someone gave him some kids, so he's a dad. So we call that the triple threat.
It is a threat, too.
You're coming off of the best season, not only in beach program history, but in any sports program at Lake-Sumter State College. You are the first team to ever go to a national championship.
Yeah,
amazing feat, amazing feat. You also had 50 career wins this season. So congratulations on that, but take us through, what is it like? What is the mental side of a national championship?
Man, I was kind of talking about this with my wife the other day, and this is probably not the answer you expected, but it's heartbreaking. And I'm not even talking about losing in the national championship, but to go on such a successful run, I feel like as a group, you guys have to be so bought into each other. And so it's such a great experience when you have athletes that are all committed to that and committed to each other. And then when all of a sudden, boom, it's over, it's like, you kind of go into withdrawals because it's such a great experience. If people who haven't played college sports or people who haven't been in like super tight-knit groups, like, the fire service is even kind of a tight-knit group, but there's nothing like being on a mission with a group of people that are like-minded, and every day you're chasing that. And then once that's over, that's tough. It's real hard. I
tell people all the time, my girls go, what do you do when the season's over? I said, I literally go through withdrawals. I have been with these kids, and I call them kids, I'm sure you call them kids, for months, every single day, see them more than my own biological children. And it's really tough to just not have that anymore.
Yeah.
But you guys, the whole point, and I say, stay in it as long as you can. Be the last team standing, and you were one of two. You played the final game of the season. We always say only one team walks away winning at the end of the year. That's crazy, because I had called you. I was coaching 10U baseball, and I was like, we're going to a natty, and I called you. The girls are in the car. They're all fired up. So tell us about that trip to Alabama.
Oh, man. Well, it was essentially the same. I had almost the same group for 2 years, yeah. Right? And so very different experience. The trip to Alabama, not this year, but the year prior, was we got to Alabama on a bid. We didn't an at-large bid. We didn't win it outright. And this year it was a very different experience. We had a very successful conference run. We won a bid outright and knew that we were going. And so there's been like a level of focus this year that we knew we were going to end up there. And so actually making it to the destination you knew and you were focused on for a whole year, it brings a different weight to it. And so when we made it to Alabama, it was like, hey, I don't know, it was like we've arrived at the moment that we've been training for. And so it was awesome.
So, a year ago, you and I had a conversation. You were like, it's got to be more than winning. It's got to be more important than that. And that's right along the lines of how I ran the softball program. The outcome of winning is not the goal. The outcome of winning is a byproduct of doing a lot of things right. So can you take me to that conversation, where that came from in your head and how that evolved into what you did with your team this year?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit of a loner, and like my dad is actually my best friend, and he's the guy that holds me accountable. And so when I'm talking about beach volleyball related things, and keep in mind, my dad doesn't know anything about beach volleyball, but I was, this happened about 2 years ago. I was telling him all about, we might win this, we might win that, we could do this, we could do that. And around Christmas time, he gave me a book, and it was called, the name of the book is Every Moment Matters. And you read the little blurb about what the book's about, and it's like basically like how to be a better coach. And so I was kind of like, so do you not think I'm a good coach? And we actually had a real heart to heart, and he was like, man, everything you talk about to me is about outcomes and about winning. And he's like, I never hear you talk about how you're making these girls' lives better. I never hear you talk. You know, it was like a real gut check. He was kind of like, sorry, this is my crib midgets just destroying the facility. It was a real gut check. It was basically him letting me know, like, hey, dude, like, I think you're missing the point, you know? And so what did I do? Got a little salty at first. And then I opened the book, read the book, and I was like, man, I am doing it all wrong. And that's a hard moment to take in. But one of the first points of the book is it talks about, you know, why are you doing this? And when it came down to the truth of why I was doing it, it was like I was trying to prove myself. It was me. It was so self-serving, you know. It was like I feel like I know this game so well. I feel like I can take this team place. I can do this. I can do that. And my dad was absolutely right. Like it was not about these girls at all. And so, and don't get it twisted. Even when I was about winning, I loved these girls, but it was like the focus was in the wrong spot.
I get that. It took me 2 years to figure that out. And then even then more,
Crew, come here, bro.
Come on over here, crew.
Yeah. It's hard being the youngest brother.
Yeah.
Hey, babe, you just doing good? Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. You're good. We'll pick up.
This is the true, hey, Graham, can you watch the show and stop scrolling? Thanks, brother. I love you. Can you go sit somewhere and just be chill?
And I think
brother.
this is important to understand, like, there's lives outside of coaching.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think, you know, Coach Billings, myself, you, obviously, Alicia,
Yeah.
we've all got kids.
Yeah.
You know, young ones that run around here, everything like that. And so it's important to know that I got in an argument with an umpire one time over Betsy having Brantley in the dugout when she was our trainer. I said, that kid's safer in this dugout than she is standing out there getting hit by a foul ball.
Right.
You know, you can't fault a mom, you can't fault a parent, and it's just the reality of the situation. So,
Yeah.
and let's take it to your other career. You're a firefighter.
Yes, sir.
That's bravery, that's courage, that's everything, you know? So what does that look like?
Well, you know, anytime somebody asks me about the fire service, you know, I feel like they get a warped perspective from me because it's all I've ever known. Both my parents are firefighters. My brother's a firefighter. My cousin's a firefighter. My aunt's a firefighter. My uncle's a firefighter. So it's like is normal life for me. Is, you know, hearing weird I'm realizing now that it's weird conversations around the dinner table about, you know, all kinds of death and destruction, which has made me suited for raising 3 children because it's just total chaos in my house. But it's a really rewarding career. I know you do. That's awesome. Can you take that bike anywhere else? Anywhere else? Yeah. Fire service is great. It's a opportunity to get to serve others and help people, which I'm realizing is everything. You know what I mean? And there's no greater purpose than serving other people. And I'm not just talking about the fire service. I'm talking about even when I'm in coaching. You know, it's like if you're living your life for you, you're missing it. You know what I mean? And the irony of it all is, if you're living your life for yourself, you're not going to make yourself happy anyways. You know what I mean? So your only shot of making yourself happy is doing things for others.
That's amazing. And I give you a lot of credit. I mean, everybody else runs away from a fire. You're running into it. That's crazy. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's go to what we like to call the lightning round.
All right.
The only rule to this is no opportunity to think of your answer. You just have to say the first thing that pops into your head.
That's all right. I'm going to be good at this, brother. I don't think anyways. Let's go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Coffee or energy drink?
Coffee.
Okay. Current favorite musician or band?
I like Taya. She sometimes sings with Hillsong United, Christian worship singer.
Okay. You know, just going off of that, my softball team introduced me to Olivia Dean.
Okay.
I'm still in that phase right now.
Okay.
OD all the way. Move over Taylor Swift. Let's see. Last fast food place you ate at?
Last fast food place I ate at. Man, I think it's going to be Zaxby's.
Okay. The worst place you eat after games?
Okay, I don't do this to my girls, but when I was in college, the worst place I ate was we lost, and our coach brought us to a gas station, and so we had gas station taquitos. So that was a classy post-game meal.
So one of your bus drivers, Butch, is like, man, beach volleyball team always makes me eat healthy after games. It's nuts.
That's not a Neil thing, but yes, it is true. It's an accurate statement, but not a Neil thing.
Okay, so this one is near and dear to my heart. Chicken nuggets or chicken tenders?
Let's go tendies, especially throw a little sauce on them. You know what I mean?
I'm a chicken tender guy.
Yeah.
All right, last one. First concert you ever attended?
I think it was a Corey Smith concert with my wife. Yeah.
Okay. Now, speaking of your wife, she's involved with volleyball, correct?
Yeah, she is. She is volleyball.
She is volleyball.
Yeah.
She works for USA Volleyball, correct?
She does. Yeah, that's right.
She's also an indoor assistant and then volunteers with your team.
That's correct. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome, bro. She is a stud in every way.
So, last question I have for you is, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. How do you put up with me, man?
Dude, you're the easiest one. I can always tell by the tone in which you say, "Hey, bro," when you call me, if it's going to be a good conversation.
If how much trouble I'm in. Hey, bro.
If it's a "Hey, bro," I'm like, here it comes. If it's like, "Hey, bro," like, and I know it's going to be good. So no, you're super easy, straight to the point. I love it. Love it. Anything else?
If I could, I want to give a you sliding out of here. I want to give a quick shout out to my last season team, and because I just want to say I was thinking about, trying to prep myself for what things you might ask me on this, and I just want to say that, like, I gave them a mission at the beginning of the year. I gave them a quote that was supposed to encapsulate what our culture was, and I was just reflecting on that team, and I was reflecting on that quote, and I was like, man, they knocked it out of the park. And the quote was that there was a coach named Scott Frey. He was a women's soccer coach at a school called Masai. They won a bunch of national championships and stuff. And he wrote a letter to his 2010 team. And part of the letter, he said, hey, it was a team that won a national championship. And he said, if at the end of this, all you can say is I won a bunch of games, I won some national championships, then I'd say that it wasn't worth the time or the energy. But if you said that you push yourself, challenge yourself, and did things you didn't think physically or psychologically possible, if you made the most lasting friendships of your life, if you learned the lesson that seeing good things happen to others is it better than it happening to you, then I will say it is entirely worth everything we do. And that was the quote that I gave the group to encapsulate our culture. And I just can't think of any possible way they could have knocked that out of the park better. So if somehow any of those girls watch this, I would just want them to know that I am beyond proud of them and proud of the work that they put in and proud of their commitment to each other. I mean, I had a really hard moment in the national tournament where one of my players got injured, and she was our anchor for us, Brooke Walker, one of my twins, and she was an All-American the previous year that they went to the national tournament. Her and her partner, Mariana Camartin, aka Dimes, they didn't lose a single match, and she puts in so much work. She gets so much better than she already was, and they come back and they're having a great season. They've been an anchor for us in the threes pair all year long, and make it to the tournament, and her knee, through no fault of her own, is just killing her, and it got to the point where I had to substitute her out, and so it was one of those moments where, for me, you kind of reflect and you're like, there's hard moments where you're like, why am I even doing this, bro? Like, why am I even coaching? This girl's been busting her butt for 2 years, and we were making it to she had to be subbed out in the semifinals before we made it to the championship. And I'm like, dude, she did just work her tail off for 2 years, and now we're gonna have to sub her out because she's hurt. You know what I mean? It's just one of those moments you question what you're doing. And if anybody had a cause or a right to be bitter, it would be her. You know, and because she's a thug. You know, like she would. You could have chopped her leg off, and she probably would have slapped a tourniquet on it and then finished the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like she would have never, in her own right, checked herself out. And so I had to make that decision, which was horrible. And right before the national championship game, I see her hobbling up and down the sand, just like dancing and being goofy and hyping up the girls that were starting in the national tournament. And I was like, man, like she got it. You know what I mean? She got the culture. You know what I mean? Like she could have had every right or reason to be a martyr and just be like, man, it should be me. You know what I mean? But instead of that, she was so happy for her girls. She was like being goofy, being silly, hyping them up on the sidelines. And I was like, man, it was a moment like before the match even started. It was like, whether we win this national championship or we lose this national championship, I was like, we won.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And so,
no, I think you can look at those instances, and you know, we're raising kids, and I keep coming back to this. You know, hey, raise good teammates.
yeah,
You're going to need to be a teammate in your relationship, on your sports team, in the workplace, whatever it is. Raise good teammates, and so I think, you know, kudos to our parents, kudos to you. Congratulations on an amazing season and the lessons that your girls learned, and thank you for joining us today.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Sorry for everything that is the Neil Stanley life.
No, I call it the Neil Stanley experience.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
which is funny because you know, amongst me and my wife, I call this the coaching experiment, because it's like I don't coach like anybody else coaches, which I'm not saying is a good thing. I'm just so it's like I'm always just like, let's see how we can tinker things and let's see if this works out or if it's a flop, you know?
There you go. Hey,
Yeah.
we're all living for the first time, so
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.